I can't stand seeing the children like that. It's gut-wrenching. It breaks my heart.
In 2015, after relentlessly working to help alleviate the human suffering he witnessed in Tanzania, John St. Julien opened the doors to Feather's Tail Children's Village for disabled children with the help of countless kind-hearted humans following his journey on social media. Years later, Feather's Tail has been an incredible success story for the 100+ special needs children with disabilities who now have a chance to thrive for the first time in their lives. Feather's Tail proved that eradicating the suffering of all special needs children was in fact possible with the power of love. John and his team decided to embark on their most ambitious project to date. A new, all-encompassing children's village that will become the blueprint to eliminating the suffering of people born with special needs in the entire country and beyond.
I want to take just a few moments of your time to share with you an exciting project.
People all over the world connected very deeply to this mission and took action to help.
It's just phenomenal. All I can say is thank you, and please keep being awesome. The world needs it, and these children need it.
The fundraiser was the biggest success to date. So much so that the village is now under construction, providing labor to locals who can be rewarded fairly for their hard work. Due to the lack of intervention, education, and stimulating activities, many disabled children have been severely limited in their mental and physical growth potential. Many never learn to speak or walk. The new children's village will contain a therapy center at the heart of the village, where children will receive a wide range of high-quality physical and cognitive therapies and activities using advanced equipment, providing them with around-the-clock support from qualified personnel such as caregivers, medical staff, and physiotherapists. Surrounding the therapy center, there will be 4 children's homes with the capacity to house 396 special needs children. Each of the homes will be made up of 3 separate buildings with the capacity to house 33 children in each one. Each building will include 4 large bedrooms, 2 large washrooms, and a daycare hall. In each children's home, there will be a roofed communal therapy area where the special needs children will have access to private therapies and group activities. There will be 2 spacious communal kitchens right next to the 4 children's homes, where they will receive their meals and socialize with other adults and children. We have been blessed with the opportunity to start this project, but our mission is still far from over. We're working around the clock to gather more funds to proceed to the next phase so we can help these humans as soon as possible. If you feel connected to this project and want to become a part of this important mission, visit www.sharetanzania.com/invisible-children and learn how you can directly impact the lives of these people today. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more updates.
Every spiritual teaching, every religion has pointed towards a humanity that would act based upon a selfless love, a love without condition, that would think of others before self, that would bring an end to fear, anxiety, and bring inner peace to humanity. Inner peace on an individual level is necessary for there to be collective peace. You cannot bring an end to the issues with war and corruption and everything else we are facing unless every individual has inner peace. You today are responsible for humanity's future by being responsible for your own inner peace. If you do not have inner peace, you will not bring love and tolerance to this world. And you are part of the problem. If you're wrestling fear and anxiety, you have something to do here. But that something isn't so clear to most of us. And the game is a little bit rigged, unfortunately. But if you look at it this way, the human body is a technology. It was a creation, initially sentient life by the generous heart of God. The generous heart of God gave forth all things, including infinite potential and free will. And as that was set forth, it was done so as life would have meaning. And there had to be a trust that the gift of life that was offered would not abuse that free will and sentient life. And unfortunately, it has. We have. You have. I have. We have all done so. But there is a hope that instead of abusing it, that we will think of the collective before self. But in the most part, humanity has thought of self before other. That gift of infinite potential and free will also was set forth with an integrity from God. Let there be light, and I will not change the rules going forward. And this is where we are right now. Not everything that is allowed by that generous heart of God giving forth all of creation gets the vote of the mind and the compassion of God and those higher beings that are closer to God. Inside this world, the human body is a technology whereby we, as the formless awareness, the soul essence, the soul awareness that we are, can experience life as a human in this dimension. But are we to believe that God created us to toil and struggle for inner peace? Or is it that the technology has been corrupted? Now, the Abrahamic faiths deem this corruption to be the fall of man in the Garden of Eden by Adam and Eve. And this language, we can bring technology into that language too, for we split the rib from Adam to create Eve, and you start the multiplication of life. You split an electron from atom, and you start the multiplication of life. There's something to that. And as we begin to look at the story, what was the serpent and the temptation? Something happened. And what's important is that the result of that is that we have a corrupted technology now. Your body is corrupted. Your mind, your brain is corrupted since that event. Was that event symbolic, representing some sort of technological interference, some sort of genetic interference by a powerful being, such as Satan, who wished to be God, that didn't have the wisdom that the source of all things does? You see, inside infinite potential in this field, Satan is that expansion of consciousness in infinite potential. It said, I don't want to live inside the generous heart and its pouring forth of all things. I want the ability to pour forth all things. I want the ability to be that generous heart. I should be God. This is the arrogance of the state of separation that Satan went into in his mind. And so in that state of separation, the fallen ones, the fallen angels, somehow corrupted humanity. But that corruption let us understand what happened, so as we can understand why we can't find inner peace, because most of us are engaging the corrupted element of the body, of the mind, to try and find it. The result of the fall is that we develop a self-consciousness, and therefore we develop thought and an image of self in thought that separates us from reality. Reality is as it is, and we have the love and the compassion and the peace within us. It's all there. But unfortunately, that truth of what we are is caught in a very deadly illusion, a very difficult maze, trap to escape, and that maze is the corrupt element of the human brain. It is throwing up images constantly of who we are. We call that an ego, a personal self, a personal identity. The mind is conjuring an image of who you are based in thought and memory. It is bringing that image, that illusion, because it is but an illusion generated in thought by this organ of the brain. This illusion is deeply alluring, so alluring that people absolutely believe that they are it. Even many of you listening to me now will still believe that you are that illusion. Many of you, that illusory self will have you believing that you are spiritually awakened. But if you feel that you have awakened spiritually, that you have attained it, this is an illusion. For who is the one that could attain it? Awakening is beyond being held by an attainer. There is no central point to hold such a gift as awakening. That's why when gurus go around saying, I am enlightened, I don't trust them. I just don't. Because who is enlightened? There is nobody above any. All that has happened is the illusion of a self has diminished, and the return to truth is there. That's not held by anybody. It's not attained by anybody. It's the same as the clouds blowing in the sky. It is a movement inside the reality of humanity who are part of the clouds moving in the sky. That same movement is the movement of humanity. We have this issue where we believe that we now must go on a mission to kill the ego. But the ego doesn't exist. And the one trying to kill it is also that which doesn't exist. It is purely generated, a program that's overlaying your perceptions and altering them in this reality of thought. Your mind is generating an image of self in thought. That's all it is. You can't kill that image because that image doesn't exist. And this is why we get caught in this movement of seeking, and what happens is we propagate the illusion, but now we fill it with spiritual paraphernalia. We fill it with religious paraphernalia, and we say, this is me. But if in Christianity you must die and Christ be born, who on earth stands there believing that they have attained that? If you are supposed to have died and Christ be born, who is the one who stands saying, I have attained Christ? Who has? Any you should be dead. Christ should be. End of story. This is what it says. And this is speaking into this shutting down of this technology of the mind that is taking you from inner peace. Here and now in this reality, the mind is creating an overlay program. And you can't organize yourself into the presence of God through that program of self, which is thought, a thought-based you. This is a technology inside the body. You can't engage that technology of thought to organize yourself into a space where thought is not, which is inner peace. Inner peace is a different operating system to thought. Somehow the truth has to come. Now the body, when you identify with the body as what you are, and you identify with thought as what you are, the body is a trap. It's a trap in which we suffer. And that plays into, potentially, the energy needs of the satanic. For they want the light of God to suffer. They want it to fall into perversion so they can extract it. Because remember, they want to be the generous heart pouring forth all things. They need energy to do that. To understand this, to escape this as they perceive it, to try and become it themselves. They need energy. But the generous heart is not just going to constantly pour energy into such a sojourn that's so divisive and painful. But you can collect it from the innocent, for the generous heart will happily pour it into humans who are innocent. And if we fall and we take the light with us, they have a fuel. Look at it that way for a moment. And therefore, so long as we stay inside this thought-based operating system, we will suffer. And when we suffer, we will clamber to medicate that suffering in sin. And when we go into sin, we sell our energy to the enemy. Inner peace is without a thought-based self. Inner peace gives birth to the love of God inside the human body that you are. Inner peace in you gives birth to inner peace in those around you. Inner peace in you gives birth to inner peace inside the collective. You cannot take that corrupted operating system and organize yourself into that inner peace. If you do that, you will be in a state of separation from truth. And when you're in a state of separation, you don't feel the love, the contentment, the peace, to be able to bring it in every moment. Rather, you feel separation. Because in that state, where you try to organize yourself into it through thought, you are taking yourself as a unified being in a unified field of all things. There is only now, and there is only unity with everything at this present moment. This is a reality nothing in this world can escape. The image of separation comes from the mind alone, from that element of thought. And so, you are in that space, and you say, I need to find inner peace and unity. I will do this. Now you've separated yourself from it, and you've engaged a separate personal identity, and you're engaging that system inside you to say, I'm going to organize, analyze this world and my life into unity and peace and internal peace. But you can't, because if you analyze it, you've created a personal analyzer and a separate element of analysis. If you accept that you can't walk without the ground meeting your feet, you understand the ground is you. If you accept that, you still have an individuality, you still have a role and work to do here, but you have the love from the inner peace of Christ with you. That love can be heard in the writings of those who touched it, in things like the Bible and things like the Upanishads. People touched it, that state of consciousness where they got free of that corrupted element of the human technology. They wrote about it, and our inner soul knows this is truth, and it leans towards it, and it's desperate for it. It hears about this love and this union and this compassion, and it leans towards it. But it's still operating from the corrupted state of interacting with reality, the thought-based operating system. And so it tries, still never realizing that thought-based operating system is that which is bringing a boundary between them and inner peace, and with it the presence of God. It's the reason that they must die and Christ be born, is that thought-based operating system must be wiped out. It's the reason Jesus said you must hate your mother and your father and your brother and your sister, because the thought-based operating system will emotionally connect you to worldly relationships, and they are the hardest to separate from. And so when you need to operate without it, as the soul awareness that you are, and with that inner peace present, the relationships in the world will stimulate the fallen technology inside you to bring up the image of a son or a brother or a husband, and it will take the driving seat as the dominant operating system for your life, and it will separate you from inner peace. That's why it says to hate. It's not that you should physically hate them, it's that you should not allow it to be the dominant operating system trigger, which is what it will do. It will trigger thought as the dominant operating system in your life. What we find people doing is they go to religion, they feel it, and it's beautiful. But then the thought-based self stays, and you have people, I'm an American, I'm an Englishman, and I have a soul. No. You are a formless awareness, a soul, a child of God, who put on a suit to function in this world of collective agreement from thought of American. It was never a real core fundamental identity of anything. It's all created, it's all invented, it's imagined. The very self that you think you are is an imagined concept. The name, the nationality, the birth certificate identity, your career path. Yes, you have skills, yes, you have relationships, yes, you have memories, and they matter. But they are an imagined concept. Inside reality, you can't get a hold of them. You can't even point at them, for they no longer are. Here, now, you are. And here and now is where we bring the love and peace of God. For here and now there's no separation, there's eternal unity with all things, including our Creator. And if you want to try and organize yourself into that here and now and that love of God through thought, you will not achieve it. You will not reach that place through thought, knowledge, and information. It is when thought has gone that the return to God begins through grace and surrender. And there a new operating system comes and you follow that by faith. The majority of human beings are believing that they are the corrupted operating system of a personal meanness, which is a pure illusion based in thought. And it's a very potent illusion. It's a very powerful illusion. But it's an illusion. And it's altering your soul awareness's interaction with this reality, and it's robbing you of your inner peace by creating an illusion of separation. And that creates a longing deep inside the being. Inner peace, truth, compassion, love, supernatural capacity is all born through the human being by spirit. And spirit is born through the human being when there is silence within the mind. And it is not that the mind that has to be perfectly still. It's that your soul awareness is no longer mastered by the mind, it is the master of the mind. So as the mind is firing and chattering and spluttering, the soul awareness doesn't even take note and continues to be rigidly centered in the truth of what it is. And in the truth of what it is in that centered state, it's in the truth of that Christic, the creator of all things. And there we have power. In this world, due to the fallen ones who are not yielded, not centered, they need energy, and they want you away from that power. They want you in the babble of the mind, and they want your soul awareness to believe that illusion and follow it everywhere. Follow the impulse of your body, follow the impulse of the slave self. As Yeshua said, follow the flesh and not the spirit. This is what the worldly man does. But you have to see that if you're going to not follow the slave self, flesh, you have to not follow the operating system of thought. And you have to, at the same time, for it will remain with you forever, program that operating system with the truth that is written by the divine words of men who have transcended the operating system that is corrupted inside humanity and reached the holy place. Out beyond your ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there. This is what Rumi said. This is the place whereby you die and Christ is born. And we must be able to see beyond this corrupted operating system. Here and now, without any thought, through grace alone, you can fall into inner peace. It may be fleeting, for your body may be programmed, your mind may be programmed with endless worldly addictions and attachments to the demonic extraction matrix, as I call it. And so you enter that space through grace, but now all of a sudden the body is pulled away. And so you counter this. You start, when you do these things, you repent, you create a counter program inside thought to start challenging this corrupted operating system. Instead of letting culture program you into becoming a hedonistic battery cell for the satanic extraction matrix, then you counter it with repentance. You challenge the program. But this is a journey of resetting the body as well. But ultimately, this is all about detoxing yourself from your worldly behaviors, your habits, and getting discipline. But ultimately, the switching over from the operating system of a personal, separate meanness and its desires and will, the switching from that to the operating system of Christ, of the awakened state, of the presence of God, of that unpredictable, spontaneous, loving, compassionate place with no fear, none, no anxiety, none. That can be done instantaneously through grace. The awakening can come now. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to elongate the existence of this illusory self based in that corrupted technology of the brain. You don't have to propagate and elongate its life by engaging it to try and get rid of itself. You can just finally, as the soul awareness within you, stand before it and say, enough now. This body, this soul is returning itself back to God. And this personal, selfish meanness You are going to take a knee and you are going to become mastered by this. You will no longer be my master. And you can't do it by fighting the mind. Because when you fight it, who are you fighting it with? With the identity based in thought. You're fighting it with the same operating system. You calm it. And you surrender. And you yield. You yield the life in love, in peace, to the truth of Eden consciousness before the fall. To the truth of you dying and Christ being born. And you may say, this feels right, now what do I do? The voice there, this is the operating system that's corrupted. Now what does who do? This illusion of separation that must somehow reunite itself with God. You say, so what do I do? That's it again. This can only be pointed at. That voice belongs to the falsehood that's got you separated from it. It is not who you are. It's an illusion. It's only thoughts. And if it asks again, put it in place again. The one seeking, the one asking, is the one that can't accept grace through its arrogance. Release the seeker. Release the searching. Release the attempt to kill that which does not exist, the ego. And just fall back to the truth. The truth that will always be with you and allow you to live an amazing life when you see through the corrupted operating system and you see that you can't see through it through thought and knowledge. It can only be done by, and that is grace. Right here, right now. Yielded. Not a personal Englishman identity yielded to God. A body and soul yielded to God without any worldly identity running and dictating the movement of life. In those moments, you will be free. In those moments, you will know God. In those moments, you will know inner peace. And in those moments, you will know the compassion. You will hear God. God bless. And back down to earth. I have to go to a toy shop now for my son's 5th birthday. Be well.